Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. I'd like to welcome you, dear viewers, to another in the series, The Light of Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And as peace and blessings be on each and every one of you. In this series, we have been looking at questions which have been sent in by our viewers. The questions which have been called in or written in. And previous segments, we have been looking at general questions covering all aspects of Islam and things related to Islam, with the view of clarifying for our viewers how Islam may be properly applied to their day-to-day problems and their day-to-day existence. In the following segments, beginning with this segment, we'll be looking at questions specifically related to Hajj, because we have now entered into the season of Hajj. And the other programs which are being showed, the Pearls of the Prophet, as well as Understanding Islam, are all dedicated to Hajj during this period. Now, Understanding Islam is dedicated to explaining the actual principles of Hajj itself. You know, how it is done, where it is done from, what is required, etc., the different types of Hajj, all the details are given on that program. In this program, we will concentrate on the unusual questions which are not going to be found in the average book which you pick up and read about Hajj. Now, the first of our questions is one sent in by Sister Seema Beg from Ajman. She writes, Dear Brother Bilal Phillips, Assalamu alaikum. I am a regular viewer of your program and really admire the way you explain certain points. I have 3 questions to ask you, and I hope you will clarify them for me. First question, is Hajj allowable for those working in banks? This question implies that there is something wrong in working in banks. And as we all know, interest, which is the basis of Western capitalist banking, is forbidden in Islam. So much so that in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah warns those who refuse to give up interest, saying that be forewarned that Allah and His Messenger have declared war against you. This is a severe warning. I mean, it is not a literal concept in the sense that there is war. The Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessing upon him, is involved in a battle and struggle with us. But it is a spiritual war in the sense that by refusing to give up interest, we have taken up the position of the enemies of Islam. Furthermore, Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessings upon him, stated that interest has a number of different branches. The simplest branch of interest is equivalent to a man having sexual relations with his mother. Now, of course, this is something very heinous, very detestable. And it's not to say that according to Islamic law, a person who deals in interest is then punished by lashes, etc., as he would be punished or she would be punished if they were involved in sexual relations with their parents. However, what is intended here is that the same way that a Muslim would feel revolted by the idea of having sexual relations with his or her parents, they should feel the same way if somebody suggested to them to invest in interest. The same revulsion they felt then, they should feel here. Now, Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, clarified that the dealing in interest has 4 particular aspects. There are 4 people who deal in interest who are all included in this major sin. The one who draws up the contract, the one who signs as a witness to the contract, the one who pays the interest, and the one who receives the interest are all in this major sin together. Now, our question may be, for those people who have earned their wealth through that interest transaction, that banking transaction, as either receiving interest directly, signing a contract as a witness, or preparing the contract for signing as a employee of the bank, the earning which has been earned through this process is of course forbidden, is haram. So for one to use that earning and to make hajj, of course it's not acceptable, because Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, had stated in an authentic hadith that the one who gets in the stirrup of his horse or camel and heads out for hajj based on haram wealth, that his hajj will not be accepted, nor will Allah be pleased with him. And there are other hadiths of Prophet Muhammad where he speaks about his dua, even his dua, his supplication will not be accepted by Allah. So that is clear. Such a person, their hajj would not be acceptable to Allah. Now, for one who works in the bank in other capacities, as the telephone operator, as the security guard, as the cleaner who just sweeps the floors, are they included? Some scholars hold that they're not included in this sin, whereas others, led recently by Sheikh bin Baz, the leading scholar of Saudi Arabia, the Mufti of Saudi Arabia, he ruled, with a number of scholars supporting him, and scholars in different parts of the world supporting him, that anyone who works in a bank, regardless of their capacity, are involved in sin. It is haram to work in the banking institution, the Western interest-based banking institution. It is haram, because it falls under the category mentioned in the Quran, in which Allah said, "Ta'awanu ala al-birri wa taqwa wa la ta'awanu ala al-ithmi wal udwan." You should cooperate with each other in birr, righteousness, and taqwa, piety, things which are pious. And you should not cooperate, this is a prohibition from Allah, do not cooperate in ithm, in sin, and udwan, and things which contribute to enmity and hatred amongst people. So, on the basis of that, then one who works as a telephone operator is contributing to the functioning of a haram institution. Perhaps the image can be more clear if we think, instead of a bank, we think in terms of a brewery, a place where alcohol is being produced. A person working as a telephone operator in a brewery, I think we can see they're involved in sin. The guard, security guard of the brewery, he's defending this haram institution. Even the cleaner in the brewery, he is keeping it, helping it to function well. And even to make it more obvious, if we think in terms of a brothel, a house of prostitution, the woman who or man who is the telephone operator in such an institution, can we consider their wealth as being halal? Or the guard, the security guard who guards a house of prostitution, can we consider his wealth as being halal? Of course not. And the sin that takes place in a brewery, a house of prostitution, is as evil, as great as the sin taking place in a banking, Western-style, capitalist banking institution. Question number 2. Is visiting the Prophet's mosque a must for those making Hajj? This idea is based on a unauthentic tradition which has been attributed to Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessing be upon him. He was supposed to have said, whoever makes Hajj and does not visit my mosque, has treated me badly, has done bad to me. On the basis of that, people concluded in ignorance that it was obligatory, necessary for one to visit the Prophet's mosque when one goes for Hajj, either before or after the Hajj. However, as I said, this tradition, this hadith is unauthentic. It is not a source for Islamic law. Hajj is complete without visiting the Prophet's mosque. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Of course, it is recommended to go there, where Islam began in its final form as a complete way of life and system governing all aspects of life. And the Prophet's mosque, where prayer there is worth 1,000 prayers elsewhere. This is highly recommended for us to go there and pray in his mosque. However, it is not a necessary part of Hajj. And this should be very clear. Those who are unable to do it should not feel that their Hajj is in any way reduced in its value. It is complete, having fulfilled the rites which take place in Mecca and its immediate surroundings of Mina and Arafah, etc. Now, the third question we'll have to save for the next segment of our program. And we will include that with the questions of our other viewers. Thank you, dear viewers, for being with us in this segment of the program. And I hope that you will continue to stay with us as we look at unusual questions concerning Hajj and Umrah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.